The abandoned hotel had been a subject of local legends and rumors for decades. No one knew exactly when it was built or why it was abandoned, but it had become a place of fear and curiosity for many. People had reported seeing strange lights and hearing unexplainable noises coming from the hotel, and some even claimed to have seen ghostly apparitions. That a group of teenagers decided to explore the hotel. They were thrill seekers, always looking for a new adventure, and the stories of the abandoned hotel had always intrigued them. They met up in the late afternoon and drove to the outskirts of town where the hotel was located. As they got closer, they could see the silhouette of the old building against the darkening sky. It looked ominous and foreboding, but that only made the group more excited of the road and walked up to the hotel. The building was massive, with 5 stories and dozens of rooms. The windows were boarded up, and the entrance was locked, but that didn't deter the group. They found a broken window and climbed inside, and the air was thick with dust. They had brought flashlights, but the beams only illuminated small patches of the dark and labyrinthine halls. The floorboards creaked under their feet, and every so often they would hear a strange sound coming from what they explored were empty, and it seemed like the hotel had been abandoned for a long time. But as they went deeper into the building, they began to notice signs of life. There were old clothes and food wrappers scattered on the ground, and some of the furniture looked like it had been pulled down some of the hallways. They heard a strange sound coming from behind a door. It sounded like someone was whispering, but they couldn't make out what was being said. They cautiously approached the door and put their ears to it. The whispering grew louder, but it was still unintelligible. They tried to open the door, but it was boy named Mark pulled out a lock-picking kit from his backpack and got to work on the lock. It took him a few minutes, but eventually he managed to get the door open, and they couldn't see anything inside. They shined their flashlights around, but the beams only revealed dust and cobwebs. As they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them. They tried to open it, but it was locked from the outside. They were trapped. The room was small, barely big enough for the 5 of them to stand in. They could feel the cold, damp walls pressing in on them. They could hear their own breathing and the beating of their hearts. And then they heard a voice. Come here. The voice whispered it was coming from all around them, but they couldn't see anyone. They tried to find a source for the voice, but it was impossible. They banged on the door, screaming for someone to let them out, but no one answered. And then they heard something scratching at the door. It sounded like fingernails on wood, but the sound was too deliberate for what felt like hours. They tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. And then it stopped except for the sound of their breathing. Suddenly, the room was filled with a blinding light. The team shielded their eyes and stumbled back, unsure of what was happening. When the light subsided, they saw that the room had strange symbols and writing, and the air was thick with the scent of burning incense. They could see a figure in the center of the room, wearing a black robe and holding a silver dagger. The figure said, their voice deep and raspy, "You have stumbled upon something you were not meant to see. But since you are here, you might as well bear witness to what is about to happen." But they were frozen in place. They could feel the power of the figure, and they knew that they were in grave danger which they didn't understand, and the room started to vibrate. The walls shook, and the floor trembled beneath their feet. And then they saw something moving in the shadows, just a blur, but then they could see it clearly. It was a creature, unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was tall and thin, with long arms and legs that ended in sharp claws. Its face was featureless, except for two glowing eyes that seemed to stare into their scream, and the teens felt their minds being pulled in different directions. They could hear voices in their heads, whispering dark secrets and tempting them with forbidden knowledge. Everything went dark. They were back outside the hotel, with no memory of what had happened inside. They were disoriented and scared, but they knew that they had to get out of there. They saw the figure in the black robe standing on the balcony of the hotel, watching them go. They knew that they had escaped something unspeakable, and they vowed never to go back to that place again. The figure in the black robe haunted them for years to come, a constant reminder that there are things in this world that we can't explain or understand.